What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we're reacting to Film Theory. Your favorite Disney character is a killer? Honestly, I kind of don't have an idea what this means, but seeing how we got chapter details and uh, I think I have a general idea. I'm gonna have to wait till we get into it to get an honest idea and response to it. But onto the main thing, though. I'm kind of hoping that none of my favorite Disney characters are could be would be the technical way to say it. I'm hoping that they aren't a killer. But I think this might be pushing it, since they might end up being a killer. I hope not. But anyway, if you enjoyed this reaction video, be sure to hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when a video comes out. Be sure to give Film Theory some love and support for the video they made. And if you want to check out the original video, be sure to check out the link in the description below. And it will take you the original video. If you have any videos you would like to recommend that I should react to, put it down in the comment section below and I'll react to them as soon as possible. Now, with this all said, let's see what we got ourselves into.
Okay, they can't find me here. No one can find me here. I'm safe. I'm safe.
You're so sure about that, pal?
What? No. Pooh? Bambi? No, not you two, Mickey, not you.
And this is just the beginning, haha. Just you wait until my friends show up.
No!
Okay, I need a bit more context there.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, the show that is continuing to ruin childhoods both old and new. So, did you hear about this movie where Mickey Mouse goes on a killing spree?
Where the hell did he go?
Yeah, this is a very real movie called Mickey's Mousetrap, and as of the time of writing, it's supposed to release in early April. We'll see if that actually happens. So, how the heck is this a thing? How could Disney let this clear ripoff slip through the cracks? And how have they not sued these filmmakers into oblivion for misusing their primary mascot? Well, we actually explain exactly how in a video from last year about another of Disney's characters turned movie monster, Winnie the Pooh. So go check that out if you want the full story. But the long and short of it, Steamboat Willie, the cartoon that featured the original appearance of Mickey Mouse, has now entered the public domain here in the United States. So everyone owns Steamboat Willie and all of its characters. With some
wait. The copyright's over? Ooh, that's not good. That means people can rip off Steamboat Willie's design. They can use that Mickey's design. Damn. Also, I didn't know that Mickey was having a horror movie. Huh. That will explain that intro. But I gotta say that. Wait, that means Bambi has a horror movie? I didn't even know that. I know that Pooh had his own horror movie, and let me tell you, it sucks. It is a terrible horror movie. It's like the trashiest horror movie that ever came out, in my personal opinion. Well, there's actually more horror stories that are technically worse. It's one of the worst ones you can get to see. It is so bad that I want to bash my head when I think of the Pooh horror movie. It was so bad. It was awful. One, Pooh's design was kind of trashy, plasticky. The storyline made almost no sense. All the crime scenes. I'm saying crime scenes like that since I believe saying something else that happened would be monetized. I'm trying to be careful about what I say. Because some people get really testy about that on YouTube. And I am serious about that. But yeah, it's a interesting way to go about it on paper, but the movie just sucked. It was like they're trying to make Pooh be like a 99-cent store Michael Myers. That was still trashy. Ugh.
Caveats. Again, go watch that older theory where we explain everything in detail. It's something we're going to be seeing a lot more of in the coming decade as more and more of these pillars of pop culture start entering the public domain. And just to be clear, overall, this is a major win for all of us. Art was never meant to forever be the property of corporate overlords. After a reasonable period, it's supposed to belong to everyone so that it can be remixed and reimagined and turned into something new and exciting. Exactly like how Disney themselves made their name back when Walt was turning fairy tales into kids' cartoons. But for now,
that's true. Since it would be a bit hypocritical for Disney to do that. Also, do not show any children the original stories to all these fairy tales and all that were remade and repurposed by Disney. Do not show them the original. I've seen a bit, checked a bit of it, and it is not pretty. So, for the sake of not traumatizing kids, let's not show them any of that. Agreed? Good. If you don't, well, you're just traumatizing a bunch of kids now.
this
Frick
means
you.
that anyone, including you right there at home, can take Mickey Mouse and do whatever you want with him. Sure, that could mean using him in your new American classic novel or tasteful painting, but it could also mean using him in your very own low-budget horror movie like Mickey's Mousetrap, or a scary video game, or another scary video game, or Last Week Tonight with John Oliver.
Technically, there are horror-related stuff related to Mickey. Like his creepypasta variations. Which I also suggest not showing anyone, since it is very sensitive in certain topics. And for advice for it, if you are feeling that kind of way, please do get some help and talk to someone about a certain subject, because the storyline behind that mouse is really sad, and you should really talk to someone that you can trust with certain issues and problems so you don't go through what that mouse did. Alright, with this serious moment now done, let's continue.
You're not special. Nothing about you is special.
Ugh, spooky. Though I'm not sure anything could
Cringy.
beat just how horrifying Mickey Mouse was the first time he appeared in live action. Regardless, this is a weird phenomenon, these classic cartoon characters being transformed into these grotesque horror movie monsters and serial killer slashers. Like, I get it. It makes sense, don't get me wrong.
The Bambi one looks better than the other two. The other two looks like they're having a plastic-like design, and it really doesn't really fit their character. Just
The
saying.
sheer novelty of characters like Mickey being twisted into the stuff of nightmares will get butts in seats. That's why you're seeing so many of these low-budget horror movies starring characters like Mickey, Winnie the Pooh, or Bambi pop up. But today, I do have a question about all of this. Is Mickey Mouse actually the best choice for this? If we wanted to actually make a good horror film, is he the character from the classic cast of the Mickey and Friends canon that should be taking center stage? When you break down what actually works in scary cinema, which of Walt's creations would actually be the most effective mass murderer on Main Street, USA? Who would be the best Disney movie monster? Prepare those fast passes, friends. Let's dive into the magic and find out. And speaking of classic,
question.
iconic...
That is a good question, and I already figured that there's going to be a merchandise thing. Honestly, I was thinking it was going to be towards the end. Not right now. But yeah, that's it. That is a really good question. What Disney character would actually technically be a good horror character?
So how are we going to be measuring this? Well, after watching a lot of horror films, I've narrowed down what makes a good scary movie villain down to 3 main pillars. First, what's the potential for their unique design? You can recognize many of the best horror monsters and villains at a glance. The Xenomorph, Samara, even Michael Myers with his Bill Shatner mask. You see these guys, and you instantly know who they are and what their deal is. So which of these Disney characters can get us that same effect? Secondly, we'll want to look for memorable powers or abilities. What sets these monsters apart from the rest of the pack? Freddy Krueger can kill you in your dreams. Pennywise can weaponize and feed on your fear. Both owe a lot of their longevity to those powers. And thirdly, we're going to look at the character's ability to act as a commentary on what society fears. The best horror films have villains that are born of what our culture is collectively afraid of. The Thing might be the best example I can think of, exploiting Cold War era distrust of your neighbor or stranger danger to create a true S-tier level film. If our Disney monster can recapture just a fraction of that dark magic, we are golden, or bloody. I'm not sure which is preferable in this situation. On top of that, we'll also be measuring the characters in a 4th category, their importance to Disney. This will act as a gauge of how much of a draw this character will be in today's pop culture, because if we're making a public domain horror movie ripoff, we want people to actually see it. Now, with these 4 categories laid out, we'll be going through each of them and rating the characters out of 4. At the end, we'll tally up each score and see who wins. Which brings me to, who are our contenders? Well, just so we aren't going way overboard here and talking about like 25 different characters, we're gonna have to be a little judicious about who we talk about. Obviously, we have to put Mickey Mouse himself in the ring, as well as Donald Duck and Goofy, who make up Disney's big 3. We're also gonna bring in Mickey's original nemesis Pete, as well as Clarabelle Cow and Horace Horsecollar in a single entry. Both of those characters actually predate some of the main Mickey cast and have very similar roles and abilities in the early cartoons, thus them being just a single entry. And finally, we're also going to include Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, who you probably know best from the cult classic video game Epic Mickey. Oswald was Walt Disney's actual first cartoon character before he made Mickey, but whom he lost ownership of due to murky contracts. And fun fact, Disney wanted the rights back so badly that the company traded an actual, real human being, sportscaster Al Michaels, in exchange for Oswald back in 2006. You cannot make this up. Now, you might have noticed some pretty big omissions there, like Minnie Mouse, Daisy Duck, and Pluto. Sadly, they didn't make the cut for a couple of reasons. Firstly, Pluto's pretty much just a dog, something pretty common in horror cinema, while Minnie and Daisy are basically just female versions of Mickey and Donald. We didn't want to retread the same ground, and they don't...
Not technically wrong, but not right either. Like, they have their own things that separate them from Mickey and Donald. So to call them a female and male, a female version of those two characters, is kind of downgrading their character. They're set by a lot. And that can be a bit insulting.
Bring a whole lot new to the table. Hey, don't blame me, blame Disney. And as for other, more obscure characters, if part of the reason that they're being strip-mined for these public domain horror movies is the novelty of seeing a popular cartoon character do murder, I'm not sure we're gonna get the same sort of draw from Mortimer Mouse, the Mad Doctor, or the Phantom Blot. Cha-cha-cha! And finally, with all of that setup out of the way, let's dive into things. First up, Disney's OG villain, Pete. Now, modern versions of Pete are supposed to be a cat, but you look at this thing and you tell me it's a cat. Like, maybe it's a Maine Coon? He always looked more like a bear to me, personally, but that confusion could make for a fun monster design. Additionally, for a while there, the character was known as Peg Leg Pete, and combined with his original steamboat pilot persona, that could give us a really strong visual identity, like a pirate bear cat. So a solid 3 out of 4 for unique design. Other early versions of the character saw Pete take on various professions, a hunter-trapper, an athlete, an Old West desperado, you get the idea. He's sort of all over the place. But all in all, Pete was very strong, so a horror version of that character should definitely work with that. And Pete's roots as a feline also help him from a speed standpoint. Yeah, despite his bulk, Pete has usually been depicted as shockingly agile, able to keep up with the likes of Mickey. But that being said, strong thing that moves fast isn't exactly breaking new ground. Pete would basically just be a furry Michael Myers, so 1 out of 4 when it comes to unique powers. Pete's ability to act as commentary is also a bit shaky, like he's a bad guy who would become a slasher bad guy. I guess we could go with the whole misunderstood monster angle, but at max, that gives him a 2 out of 4 for the commentary. And finally, Pete's importance to Disney is also a bit lacking. I would argue that as Mickey's main rival, he's a bit more significant than, like, Pluto, but not by much, so 2 out of 4 there, leaving Pete with a total of 8 out of 16. Middle of the road, but we can do better. Like, maybe with Horace Horsecollar and Clarabelle Cow. Let me ask you, do you know what's fascinating about these two? Absolutely nothing. Not a gosh darn thing. In fact, I'm betting that some of you only just now found out that these characters even exist because...
Okay, hold on. I knew about Clarabelle, but I can't say I know anything about Horace, sadly. What can I say? I only know about Clarabelle from a few media things related to Disney. And it's usually the part where she becomes Goofy's love interest. It's a thing. It has happened.
because of this video. So right up front there, they're both getting a 1 out of 4 for importance to Disney. They're more likely to show up at a bar trivia night than a mainline Disney product at this point. But
Fair.
do you know what's mildly interesting about Horace Horsecollar and Clarabelle Cow, and why I wanted to talk about them today? They're two of just very few characters in the Mickey and Friends canon that have been shown to walk both upright and on all fours in the same cartoon. Yeah, Horace and Clarabelle straight up shapeshift. Ever since their early appearances in cartoons like 1928's The Plowboy, Horace and Clarabelle could full-on transform from a normal four-legged cartoon animal to a humanoid, upright walking, talking person at will. Their front hooves even morph into gloved hands. Now that's really cool in concept and gives both of these characters a real leg up in both potential for unique design and memorable powers. Seriously, imagine some crazy cow or horse-shaped monster that could twist and morph its body, bones cracking and skin tearing as it turns into a humanoid, a la The Thing. So right there for me, that's a solid 3 for unique design and a 4 for memorable powers. Basically, this one fact put these characters in contention today. And just to put a cap on things, there's also some great potential for commentary on how our reliance on these sorts of domesticated beasts of burden is turning the tables for us as humans. That could even fit super well with these two kind of turning into humanoid characters. So, for commentary, they're also getting a 3 out of 4. Honestly, a surprisingly strong showing from Horace and Clarabelle with 11 out of 16. Even if their lack of importance to pop culture really hurt them in this scenario. So what about Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, Disney's original main character? Believe it or not, but there were almost 200 Oswald shorts back in the 20s and 30s, but sadly he never really took off in the same way later characters like Mickey would. And eventually Oswald got revamped into almost a totally different character in comic books in the 50s before vanishing entirely in the 60s. Why?
Seriously?
Well, a guy named Oswald killed the president, and suddenly Oswald was not a very popular name. I don't have a joke here. Sometimes reality is just stranger than fiction. In any case, Oswald, the rabbit, not the assassin, was basically an economy model Mickey Mouse and a pretty basic cartoon character. And I fear that this would transfer to any horror movie version of him too. It would basically just turn into another spoopy man in a rubber rabbit mask a la Mickey Mousetrap or Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. So 1 out of 4 in potential for unique design. Additionally, this whole aspect of being forgotten to time is a bit of a double-edged sword here for Oswald in our horror scenario. On the one hand, there's a potential for a really good story about a forgotten character coming back and forcing himself to be remembered by going on a murder rampage, especially in this era where companies like Disney have monetized every bit of our collective nostalgia. But on the other hand, well, even if the Disney corporate machine wanted Oswald back, he disappeared from history for a long time, and basically nobody cared. So a solid 3 out of 4 for potential for commentary, but a paltry 1 out of 4 for his importance to Disney.
It's solid, but it's a solid thing, but it's not a good thing. Okay, I can see that being fair.
As for his unique powers, here's where Oswald really shines, because his main power is literally in his name. Oswald, the Lucky Rabbit. There hasn't ever really been a horror movie monster that has weaponized luck, and there's a ton of potential there for something really clever and unique. Like, just imagine a monster that could cause some sort of Final Destination-esque Rube Goldberg machine of death just by tweaking the luck of its victims. So Oswald gets a 4 in this category for a total of 9 out of 16. Respectable, but sadly not quite enough to squeak past fellow forgotten Disney characters Horace and Clarabelle. Truly tragic. But enough beating around the bush, let's get to the big leagues, starting with Mickey himself. Now, let's get the obvious out of the way. It's Mickey freaking Mouse. He's gonna have a 4 in importance to Disney category. And people would want to watch a horror movie starring him. There's a reason so many horror film versions of the character are being rushed out. Mickey is a character that holds a special place in pop culture, which I would say also gives him a serious edge in the character's ability to act as commentary. Because Mickey is so synonymous with Disney, there's a lot you can say about that company and what they represent. Taking well-known IP and manufacturing new content that sells nostalgia more than originality and turn it it into a powerful story. And all of that without even touching Mickey's origins as a trickster, which could also become a great story element in and of itself. So again,
True.
4 out of 4 when it comes to commentary. Additionally, I would argue that Mickey also gets a bump in the unique design area simply because the character itself is so recognizable. The sheer novelty of horror Mickey, the family-friendly character turned murderous psychopath, really helps Mickey stand out in unique design where characters like Oswald suffered, earning him a 3 out of 4. However, when it comes to memorable abilities, Mickey struggled a little bit. See, he was the underdog in many of his classic cartoons, outsmarting opponents like Pete with his trickster instincts instead of overpowering them. That being said, mice are known to be very quick and stealthy, and Mickey himself knows his way around a rifle and has demonstrated handy skills as a swordsman, which could translate pretty well into a prototypical slasher villain. You know, basically exactly what we see in Mickey's Mousetrap. That being said, the thing that keeps Mickey from getting a 1 here, his potential in the near future. See, Fantasia was released in 1940, which means that it will also be in the public domain in the
So if it wasn't for Fantasia, it would be a 1. Because the skills and abilities Mickey has is just so basic and generic. So that would mean that it would just bump him up just to a 2. At most.
Foreseeable future, meaning that there's a world where Mickey is getting legit magical powers in these horror movies. And you know, by that point, I'm sure we're gonna have so many freaking horror movies with this character that it's gonna make Jason in space look reasonable. So, Magic Mickey, yeah, that checks out. And it could be scary, so 2 out of 4 for unique powers. Either way, this leaves Mickey in a great position at the head of the pack here with 13 out of 16 points. But is the mouse the head honcho? Next up, the character that might be Mickey's main competition here, Donald Duck. Let's not mince words here. Donald is the only of Disney's characters whose personality would need 0 adjusting to star in a slasher movie. The Duck's a full-blown psycho.
True.
Prone to violent outbursts, temper tantrums, and fits of blinding rage against everyone from his best friends to random strangers. It's easy to see why this loose cannon wildcard was actually more popular than Mickey for much of the 30s and 40s, and why he may be the more effective killing machine. For one thing, did you know that Donald is the only of Mickey's friends with an actual military service record? Yeah. For real. Donald Duck was frequently used in old propaganda cartoons and has been recognized as a well-decorated soldier by the real United States military in the real world. Yeah, in real life. All in all, this does a lot for Donald across all of our categories. First of all, a horror movie villain that used to be a military service member allows us to do a lot with social commentary, exploring themes of PTSD or how soldiers often struggle to reintegrate with society after their service. There's a really powerful story in there about the lack of empathy and support that our service members are given. So, kind of like the first Rambo, but with a duck instead of Sylvester Stallone. It would also give our movie monster Donald access to all of the training and equipment that the real US military offers. So,
that's actually kind of terrifying now that I think about it. Because if you think about it, trained soldiers could take, like, anyone on. Like, a normal crook against a trained military soldier who's armed to the bone, and that criminal's just gonna be literally dead. It's kind of terrifying. Plus, they'll have survivalist skills, they'll have tracking skills, observational skills, and know how to check their surround. Okay, yeah. This actually has a lot of mirth to it. And since Donald's popular, he will be 4. The commentary could be, I think, would be a 4. Now, for powers, well, he had multiple jobs, so he is all-rounder. I'd like to say that would be a 4-2. And his design would be a 3, in my personal opinion. Because Donald has so much to go with when it comes to powers. Would he be the very best? No, but it is a lot more than what regular slasher killers can do. And with how many skills and abilities he has, it would make him a very deadly opponent.
A duck that can fight and shoot on top of his quick temper. The soldier/sailor getup also gives Donald a leg up in terms of his unique design. Though mutant birds are no stranger to horror cinema, just look at Hatching, Thanksgiving, The Rage, and, well, The Birds. Combining it with the military aesthetic adds the same flair that gave Pete a bit of an edge earlier. And that's without bringing in the actual physiology of ducks, which could really enhance our horror Donald into something wild. For instance, did you know that ducks can pull all-nighters that put us theorists to shame? Ducks can literally sleep with one eye open, only putting half of their brain to sleep while the other is awake, alert, and on the lookout for predators. That means that Donald here could literally watch you 24/7 while getting his own full 8 hours of rest. And no matter where you go, ducks can keep an eye on you. Because of the placement of their eyes on the sides of their head, they have 340 degrees of vision. So no matter how you approach a duck, it's likely they're going to spot you coming. And you can't even hide from a duck because they have tetrachromacy. Basically, this is like the opposite of being colorblind. Instead of having trouble telling colors apart, ducks can clearly see the difference between colors and shades that humans can't, meaning that you might think that you're perfectly camouflaged, but Donald can see you, always. So again, great power set here. All in all, this adds up to Donald getting super solid 3s across the board, with an additional 4th point in his importance to Disney since he's one of the company's heaviest hitters. That leaves Donald tied with Mickey at 13.
I think his commentary at least deserves a 4. I can lean down to a 3 for powers, I guess, but commentary? I think that one deserves a 4 at the least.
Out of 16 points. Perhaps not that surprising when you consider that these are probably Disney's top 2 most popular characters. But as they duke it out, we do have one final contestant to talk about. George G. Goof, better known as Goofy. See, going into this whole episode, I had a feeling that Goofy was going to be an underdog to take.
Is that a real thing? Goofy's name is George. Well, that's a new thing to learn about Goofy today.
The whole thing for a number of reasons. Firstly, just like Mickey and Donald, Goofy is one of Disney's big 3, automatically giving him a 4 in his importance. But it's when you start breaking down the other categories that things really get interesting. For instance, what exactly is Goofy again? Like, he looks to be some sort of dog, but not a dog like Pluto is, so he's more of a weird dog-human hybrid. That right there already has a lot of history with the horror genre, and we could pull from werewolf mythology here. But there's actually a different direction that I would go. See, a strangely recurring motif in early Goofy cartoons was to set him in the American Southwest, like in El Guacho Goofy and Two Gun Goofy. And I figure if someone's gonna make a shameless cash grab public domain horror film exploiting Mr. Goofier, they might as well go the extra mile and misappropriate some culture too. Many of the indigenous Native American peoples across the plains and the Southwest believe the coyote to be a trickster spirit, one who could shapeshift and occasionally look the form of a human being. Coyotes are obviously part of the canine genus, so one taking human form and becoming this sort of dog-man hybrid, masquerading like a normal human like Goofy, could make for a super compelling design. It could also let us get various different stages of man-dog hybrid throughout the movie, letting creature designers get creative and bringing in some of that body horror we like so much from Horace and Clarabelle. So Goofy is getting a 4 here in his potential for a unique design. Additionally, the coyote myth actually works surprisingly well with other Goofy cartoons from the 40s. During this period, Goofy starred in Disney's How To series, a string of mockumentaries where Goofy lived in a world full of other Goofies. He was basically just a normal everyman. In a horror context, this could really let us lean into a distrust of your neighbor. If, for a great deal of the movie, Goofy just looked like any old normal person, this disguise could lead to some great tension as our protagonists tried to figure out who is the trickster spirit haunting them. Can you trust your neighbor, your partner, your best friend, your dog? Or are they a coyote man trying to trick and murder you? That is a great analog for the real world distrust a lot of people are feeling for their fellow human beings right now. So again, that's a 4 for potential commentary. And what's more, this how-to series also demonstrated Goofy's ability to master pretty much any physical athletic feat you can imagine, including gliding, skiing, swimming, fishing, hockey, baseball, gymnastics, golf, Olympic track and field, and even the history of martial arts. On top of taking advantage of this shapeshifter coyote trickster spirit, the Goof is also just a monster when it comes to his physical prowess. So that's a solid 3 for Goofy's powers and abilities, leaving him with 15 out of 16 points and putting him clearly at the head of the pack. George G. Goof is our winner today and clearly the best pick for a Disney horror movie. For almost a century, we've seen Goofy as this lovable, lanky dude just trying his best, trying to be a good dad. But when you step back and look at it, there doesn't seem to be any tool he can't use, any skill he can't somehow blunder through, any physical challenge he can't rise to, and any scenario he can't improvise his way out of. As Mickey and friends march into the public domain and will inevitably be picked apart by horror filmmakers, today we've proven that Goofy is the most uncanny. He has the powers, he has the potential for commentary, he has the unique design, and the importance to pop culture. The only thing he really needs to turn him into a horror movie monster is something to set him off. And let's be real, if you're in a horror movie and you've reached that point, attracted the ire of George G. Goof himself, well, you've done goofed already. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. And hey, again, if...
Damn. Okay. Well, I guess that is a good approach to go with when it comes to Goofy. Honestly, I think Donald deserved like a 14 at least. I mean, going from a soldier to a regular civilian and trying to deal with all that trauma and so much other stuff, that's a real world thing that would hit hard. In personal opinion. And there's also other ways to go about it, so yeah. But yeah. Goofy being the best one, huh? I mean, I can't say anything wrong with that. The ideas that were given out were pretty interesting, and is something to take into account. So I see no reason to fault it. Yeah, I can see this working. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when the video comes out. And honestly, tell me. I have 2 things I want to know. 1, what is your favorite Disney character? Mine is a tie between Pluto and Oswald. Yeah, you can't believe my surprise when I heard that they gave up a real life person for Oswald. That was mind-boggling to me. But to hear that they actually did nothing with his character since they got him back was kind of disappointing. Though I understand the reason back then, but nowadays, I mean, you could have at least added him as a side character. I feel a bit insulted, to be honest. But other than that, what character do you think deserves to be the next horror movie character from Disney? I'd like to hear your opinion. Honestly, I feel like Donald has the most potential. But again, that's my opinion on the matter. So tell me what you think in the comment section below. Because I really like to hear your opinion on these matters. But with this all said, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!